Well, YouTube again. We're back another one. So this is gonna cover Sargon's video talking about Sanders' endorsement of Biden. Now, because if you followed my channel for a while or followed my streams, I'm a Bernie supporter, right? And so disappointed that Bernie's not going to be the Democratic nominee. Not going to be running that stuff there, right? There's probably a lot of things we could talk about on why that didn't happen, on what we have to do as progressives to build on the foundation that Bernie has built over the last 4 years, and go from there. But yeah, there's no issue with him endorsing Biden or working with Biden to bring him closer to a lot of the progressive policies that we want. And we'll get into some of the policies here we're talking. But that's kind of my thoughts at the beginning of the video about the Sanders situation. Maybe if you have questions in the for me, more stuff you want to know about what I think about Bernie dropping out, yeah, leave them in the comments. I'll answer them too. I'll respond the best I can. But yeah, that's where it go. But we'll jump into this video. We'll take a look at some of Sargon's bullshit.
Well, would you look at the time? It is as regular as clockwork. Bernie gets beaten by an establishment candidate, then he comes out and endorses said establishment candidate. Because Bernie is a loser. He is a perennial, perpetual loser who will never win the presidency of the United States. Let's hope that doesn't come back to bite me like it did for all the left-wingers.
I mean, it's not. You got to have some pragmatism in politics and getting stuff done, right? Trump is a fucking disaster for our country, right? And as much as Biden, I do not particularly like, he's better, and we'll get into some of the policy stuff and policy comparisons. Way better than Trump, right? Like, way better than Trump. He's going to get us closer to the progressive goals that we want, even if he's not the super progressive one, and he's not going to get everything on his platform passed. But Bernie would never have gotten everything on his platform passed if he was elected either, right? So holding that against Biden is not something to do. But no, Trump needs to be out of office. I mean, he's a total embarrassment for our country.
I'm not saying the Democrats can't win, I'm saying Bernie can't win. He seems to lose at everything. And even when the establishment of the Democratic Party, the DNC, collude with Hillary Clinton, a candidate, in order to screw him out of the nomination, threaten to smear him as an atheist, among other things, he still turns around and endorses their candidate.
I mean, so this collusion stuff, this things with the DNC. Yes, the DNC wanted Hillary back in 2016. Yes, did they set some things up in terms of debates that were there? Yeah, and so there's some operatives that shared some stuff that was bad, but Bernie didn't lose because of DNC collusion or anything like that. And the whole smears and atheist thing, we as Sanders supporters can't look and say, like, I mean, look at all the snake stuff we did when Warren did her thing, or the people that did Pizza Rat and all this other shit, right? And then Bernie went after pretty hard about things and said things like, Biden's against Social Security and stuff like that. When there's a little more nuance into those quotes and stuff that he picks out for those ads. But now Biden and Bernie are working together to try to build a coalition together, right? I mean, part of that's just going to be they're going to say shit about you. Your opponents are going to say shit about you. And you can't just say, well, fuck, you said something mean to me. You're never going to work with them again, right? I mean, it's a completely dumb thing about politics. I mean, like, Jesus fucking Christ. Carl's the guy that ran for office and was the rape tweet guy towards Jess Phillips. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Has done, far worse than they're here, but he still expects that the politicians should work with him when he says shit like that, right? Saying, oh, let's push that he's an atheist and not really religious, right? Because atheism doesn't play well. I mean, that's politics, right? That's how you're going to frame your messaging, right? You can't have Kyle Kalinske go and say, oh, be this hard, strong force and say, no, fuck you on this and all this other stuff. And then expect that those same people turn around and work with you, right? When you go much harder like Kyle wants. So it's whatever. It's politics. It's campaigning. It's trying to differentiate yourself. And, that's kind of what comes with politics. It's not a loser when you got to work with them, especially when they're much closer to your views and ideals than Trump is, right?
Honestly, I genuinely find his lack of spine offensive. No one should be this weak. It annoys me watching him continually get cucked by his own side, despite being one of the most powerful actors on that side. If he stood up straight and just said, you know what, no, I'm going to compete directly against you, let's see where the chips fall.
I mean, you would like that in the person who thinks that guarantees Trump for you, right? Let's not pretend that this is like, oh, Bernie's got to be strong and do the third party thing. And, you know, in general, I'm not opposed to the third party stuff. I'm a longtime third party voter. But there's instances where it's like, yeah, no, can't handle it. Like, so the third party voting has to come when the opposition isn't a madman, you know, a wannabe tyrant like Trump is, right? And so if he was like, let's see, Romney or McCain, right? So I don't like either of those guys, politics wise, but they're not not Donald Trump. They're not the far right crazies in the like the Tea Party kind of candidates either, right? They're not Ted Cruz or Rubio or anything like that. So there's reason like, you know, it's gonna suck. They're gonna put conservatives on. They're gonna do tax cuts. They're gonna do some of that stuff I don't like. Some things that are gonna do here, but it's not what Trump's been doing, right? It's not equivalent to that. It's not part on there. And you know, we can manage. We can survive 4 years if we want to make a statement and push things out, right? Trump, no. So I'm gonna vote Biden where I am. You know, and we'll see. There's some policy stuff there in Biden, and Biden's, you know, policy platform is pretty progressive, probably a bit more progressive than Obama's was when Obama was, you know, the face of the progressive movement 12 years ago now.
You never know. That could really build momentum, and maybe he would actually overtake them because he is actually standing for something rather than just saying that he is standing for something and then endorsing the very thing that he's been condemning all this time, as if Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden are not representative of the insider, neoliberal, moneyed class of American politics.
Can we stop with the neoliberal nonsense, right? You don't know what a fuck. I fucking hate it. It drives me up the wall. And if you see me on Chud's stream tomorrow, that's probably going to come up because neoliberal is used so wrong. You know, the Clinton and Clinton would be part of what's called a third wave movement, which is a reaction to the rise of neoliberalism and the new right in the 80s, right? Trying to find a middle ground between neoliberalism and Keynesianism after the failures of Keynesianism in the 60s and 70s, right? That led to the rise of neoliberalism and popularity. Right, so they're trying to find that new middle ground and still push forward the policies they put through here. Right, so things like a minimum wage, especially raising the minimum wage, is not a neoliberal position. Right, neoliberals hate minimum wage. Right, they don't want it. They're fine with a basic income. Right, in their things. This is why I like Milton Friedman, one of the faces of neoliberalism. You know, the most prominent one. Supported a negative income tax, which is a form of UBI. So, yeah, I mean, there's things about this here, but understand the policy. Just it's not, you know, and a lot of it comes, and this is probably where Sargon's comes from as well, is that the neocons are bad, and so therefore, if the neocons are the bad conservatives, the neolibs are the bad liberals, right? And that's really the shitty idea and how they pull these ideas from.
Politics that Bernie Sanders has been railing against. I mean, they don't just represent millionaires, they actually do represent billionaires. Shouldn't Sanders have a real problem with Joe Biden and just what he is and what he has done, just philosophically?
Well, I mean, yeah, they're representing the billionaires and stuff. I don't like the moneyed interest and stuff there, right? It's kind of sucks. But that's what comes with the lesser of two evils, if you want to go that far. Right? When you have to make that decision, right? You got to pick somebody who's less bad as the other guy.
Surely is an impossible divide to breach. But I guess that what Joe Biden's going to do is just lay out all of Bernie's rhetoric, exactly as Bernie bros want to hear it. He will say what they are interested in having him say, because Biden is just about money. He is about Biden. He's about him and his family, and you can see this in his own nepotistic business dealings. And this is why allegations against Trump are so hollow. It's like Trump's nepotistic. Huh, well, that's a surprise. Where did he learn that? From you guys. From everyone. It's been the same political dynasties in America.
I love how nothing can ever be Trump's fault, right? It's always somebody else's fault than Trump. And then he's going to pretend that... he doesn't pretend anymore. The mask's off. He's a Trump supporter, right? He's not going to try to pretend that he's the leftist center guy he was years ago, right? And I don't know if that's a big change from his supposed leftist center beliefs, and he's just running toward the money, because I'm going to pull that up. Let's see how much he's making on this. Last time I looked, it was about $150,000 a year on Subscribestar. So let's go look that up quick. Sargon. So let's see. What does he have at each level? So he's got a $1 level. So let's do the calculator. Where's my calculator? All right, let's get everything in. So he's got 1 plus 1381 times 5 plus 182 times 10 plus 231 times 20 plus... God damn, people are wasting a lot of money on Sargon. 50. So he's making about $17,000 a month, which times 12 months... Yeah, he's making about $200,000 a month on his Subscribestar. And it's because he's leaning hard into this particular politics at this point, right? He's not even pretending that he's not left to center. He's a liberal. He's a social liberal. He's all that other stuff, right? Because he's not.
For far too long, and Biden's part of that clique. And this has to end. This is why Trump is a damn good thing, in my opinion. He breaks this pattern. And I think it would be sensible if his children actually didn't go into politics. Like, someone else should come up, show that it can be anyone. But anyway, Sanders was on Joe Biden's a live stream that he was doing that absolutely no one watches. I saw one the other day, had 3,000 people watching. It was done at the same time that Trump was delivering his...
How's it going, Max John? What are you up to tonight?
coronavirus address that had like 150,000 people watching. Just go show you a few things about where the internet audience is. But Sanders formally suspended his campaign last week and said that he needed everyone, not just his supporters, to back Biden to make sure Trump becomes a one-term president. Today I'm asking... I can't do his accent. Today I'm asking all Americans, I'm asking every Democrat, I'm asking every independent, I'm asking a lot of Republicans to come together in this campaign and support your candidacy, which I endorse, to make certain that we can defeat somebody who I believe is the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country. Well, I mean, I don't know when he's beginning...
Waiting for the Wastelanders update on Fallout? Yeah. I'm doing all right. Making it through a lot of cringe stuff tonight. A lot of coronavirus talk. All right, so if you get a chance to watch the VOD, or if you follow me on follow my YouTube channel, I'll have videos clipped out and up this week from this stream talking about it.
At the modern history. But I mean, just George Bush is alleged to have been responsible for between 100,000 and 1 million violent deaths in Iraq. What has Trump done that's even vaguely comparable to this?
All right, the Iraq War is something bad. We shouldn't have been in, right? We don't disagree about this. But Bush started the Iraq War, therefore Trump's not as bad as Bush, right? You can be bad He can be worse than somebody in some areas, and not as bad as in others. Now he's going to bring up the drone program because he's going to, shit on Obama, which the drone program sucks. I mean, with the efficiency of it and stuff there, but he's not going to bring up that Trump. It's gotten worse. Yeah, the accent is annoying, but Trump is bombing more people with drones. Has been killing more civilians with drones, and last year, about a year ago, Trump discontinued the civilian death reports from drone strikes that Obama had. So we don't actually have the official figures anymore coming from the government. We got to rely on things like Amnesty International and other NGOs.
Like, what do you do? Kill 12 people in Syria with an airstrike? I suppose the drone strikes, that's something that we do against jihadis. That is no different to any of the other presidents of, I guess, we'll call modern history, like 2001. I don't know.
Yeah, Trump has increased the drone strikes. There's more civilian deaths, and he's taken away a lot of transparency that Obama had about the drone strikes. Not that it was perfect transparency, mind you, because they wouldn't record all the deaths in the Obama administration, but it was more transparent than Trump's. I think Amnesty International estimates as many as like 7,500 civilians dead from drone strikes. Obviously not as much as the Iraq War and stuff there, but if you're against the drone strikes, which Carl, I remember 2016, Carl was really against it. He's increased it, right? Especially in Yemen.
But this nothing out.
But I mean, this also includes all the shit Trump does at home. So like the trans-military ban, and plenty of other things. His poor handling of the coronavirus outbreak, which has generally gotten better. Obviously, now that he's finally following the guidelines he should follow. But could have been a lot better, back in February, where he was pissing around and downplaying it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of shit we do over there that's responsible for aiding the growth of things like ISIS and other things there. There was the, another thing in Syria, there was the abandonment of Rojava, which led to Turkey bombing our allies, one of our closest allies, in beating ISIS, right? He just said, fuck them, we're out.
Out of the ordinary, Trump hasn't invaded a bunch of countries. He hasn't killed loads of people. It hasn't been an international war.
Well, he's killed loads of people through there. No, I can't blame somebody that, there's these outside oppressive forces and stuff on them to go join something, even if it's going to result in something more oppressive, right, than what they have, right? That's a lot of it. If you go look through, like, there's a good video from, good movie. I haven't seen the sequel. I don't know if the sequel ever came out, but was it Persepolis? I think the animated movie from an Iranian woman who lived in pre-revolution Iran and was sent out after the revolution, came back. So you get a little kind of the history there, and her family was heavily involved in opposing the Shah. Oh yeah, we're not certainly good and all that other stuff, but we do a lot of shitty things that we should stop doing. But that's kind of the hard part, and getting all that done, you got to get a lot of people to agree on it.
Effort against an axis of evil with Trump. Trump has just been loud and belligerent politically, using America's influence rather than using America's military to the same extent as any of the others. So I don't know, maybe Bernie Sanders knows something I don't, but I just don't see Trump as being all that dangerous, to be honest. When he actually starts doing something that's genuinely dangerous, I'm like, okay, I think that's too far, guys. But until then...
Bullshit. You're the one that was holding Trump up before the election as one of the Gracchus brothers. Oh yeah, the refugees and stuff. Yeah, we got a lot of. I work with a lot of Somali refugees that come over and work with us. Yeah, they're generally good people. There's a couple of bad apples in there, but for the most part, yeah, normal people want to live their lives, their families, and have something stable.
I don't see a problem. I really don't see a problem. I think he's actually handled international relations really well. I think he's handled civil liberties just fine.
I'm sorry. This is the true, like, Sargon likes to push the Trump derangement syndrome, but this is truly Trump derangement syndrome in what he can do here. Now, this was put out before the full-on propaganda piece that he did. Like, so I don't know if you saw his coronavirus response tonight, but I did a response to a few clips from it. He took a Sean Hannity, like, literally propaganda piece talking about how great Trump was and how, it's only the mainstream media that's putting him down. Like, there's bipartisan support among governors and stuff. And so they put a timeline of things said. So they stop with what the news says on February 8th in there, right? It doesn't include anything from February 8th onwards. So it's January and February 8th, where admittedly the major news outlets that weren't Fox News weren't quite on it, but neither was Fox News, right? So Hannity in this clip takes like the one clip talking to Dr. Fauci where it sounds like, oh yeah, Fox News is taking it seriously. And so what we watched after that and discussed it was a clip that was clipped together by The Daily Show, which showed everything from February onward, things both Trump said, Pence said, and then Fox News said, all the way up through when Hannity put that video together that Trump showed tonight. Don't have any Somali in Manchester? Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird. We have, with how refugees are spread around in the U.S. So, yeah, there's pockets where you'll get a lot of, like, Somali refugees. You get a lot of the Hmong in some things up in Minnesota. And then elsewhere, I don't know if I have met anybody from Syria that's a refugee in the U.S. I think they're put somewhere else. But, yeah, it's really weird how they spread them out and make little pockets where...
He doesn't seem to have any designs to be censorious. He likes chewing out the media, but he's not personally deplatforming them, is he? He's not...
I mean, he took away press credentials from BuzzFeed and other news organizations, did he not? I don't know if he ever returned those. But Trump did do some fuckery with press credentials. He may have ultimately gave them back after the backlash to it. I think it's one of the few times that Fox News reporters also got on him, or at least some of them did, in the support. But Sargon's lying about this history stuff, right? He's making a lot of shit up and a lot of I don't know. So much for someone who cares about the facts.
Not banning them or using any kind of executive order on them. He's just chewing them out and making them look bad to the public. But maybe, again, that's bad for the left wing. I will do all that I can see that happens, Joe. Sanders pledged. Calling Trump a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot who botched the nation's initial response to the coronavirus pandemic. Wait.
I mean, none of that's wrong, right? In any of his action or his behavior and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why he's against it. But I'll also show a list of policy comparisons here when I get to a good spot here when Sargon wants to talk about policy. I might have missed it, but we'll do it at the end at the very least.
But he's not a dictator, Bernie. Calm down. Like, the blame is shared amongst the many layers of power and how it's distributed in the United States. But I love this. A racist sex...
I mean, no, not necessarily. Like, he refused to call... Like, it's the president's got to call a national emergency for that stuff, and he put that off for weeks, right? And doing his job there. He's done a lot of shit, like spreading the hydrochloroquine stuff. That's not really backed up with evidence that it's going to stop this, but he keeps pushing that out there. He pushed that out again today in his press conference.
He's a xenophobe and religious bigot. Well, what isn't he? What are you saying he's not? What are the virtues of Donald Trump, Bernie? That's what I want to hear. I mean, the man made himself a billionaire and then the president of the United States, and you didn't. So,
I mean, he did make himself a billionaire. He actually would have been better off, would have been more rich had he just took the money his daddy gave him and threw it in a market matched fund, kind of thing.
What exactly does he have that you don't? And of course, Biden's like, yeah, your endorsement means a great deal to me. Because, of course, it is. It's a big deal to get endorsed by Bernie for Biden. Biden has nothing. He has no momentum. He has no particular support. He just has normie boomers who are like, God, that guy.
No, that's wrong. So before the coronavirus outbreak, right? So if you look at turnout for primaries in the Democratic primary, it was up compared to 2016. It wasn't quite 2008 levels, and it wasn't Bernie's coalition, right? It was the older voters that came out in support. So there is at least some momentum in Joe's favor, right? In having that there. If the increased turnout in the primaries this year translates to the general election, Joe's going to win, right? Now, we got a coronavirus pandemic that hurts the older demographics. How willing are they going to be willing to leave their house if this is still a big thing come November, right? Especially if it breaks out in a worse way. So that's throws a wrench into it. So we'll see how this goes and how this transitions. So this is kind of the wild card in how this goes, which might be why in this article talks about Bernie and Biden working together, coming up, kind of building that coalition about accepting more of the progressive policies, or at least moving closer to them on his platform, right? That those overtures he's making to Sanders and his supporters. And we'll go over this here. I got to see what else he's going to say here. And then I'll pull up the Scuff Dario comparisons so that we look and see. So anybody that's, the Bernie or bust, fuck Biden, Biden's not going to support anything. And we look at his campaign platform.
As a communist, I'm voting for the guy I remember under Obama. These people probably still would, these people would probably flip to Trump if Bernie actually did get in charge. Because again, Bernie doesn't appear to be a patriot. That's the problem with Bernie. He seems to...
I mean, how is he a patriot, right? He wants to do things better. I mean, he goes... this is the kind of the bullshit. Like, he wants to do things differently. Like, he talks about, like, his admiration for, like, FDR, MLK, all these things that people hold up as patriotic, right? This is just Sargon talking out of his ass, right? Just because he has issues with what goes on in the U.S., he's not a patriot. It's sounding almost like a neocon from the early 2000s. Yeah, how you doing, Beast Nation?
Quite like foreign parts and foreign ideologies, and super states that no longer exist. Bernie is not.
I mean, he's been critical of the USSR, right? I mean, he's said some things positive about it, and he says some things critical about it as well, right? Because he wants to move towards socialism, ultimately. Oh, I'm doing all right. I've been yelling a lot about coronavirus conspiracies tonight. So you'll see those on YouTube. There's getting some fun ones.
Bernie is not someone who strikes one, if you were just to look at his history, as being someone who actually likes the US all that much. Apparently, Biden is going on a charm offensive with Sanders and his supporters, praising Bernie and offering progressives more policy proposals concerning healthcare and education. So essentially, Biden is going to half adopt Bernie's platform in order to drag what's left of the Bernie bros over there.
All right, so let's look at his platform. So this platform comparison was made, where is it? Before the dropout, April 8th. So when did Bernie drop out? I think Bernie dropped out a little before this, but this was before the overtures. So anybody who's Bernie or bust right now, now that Bernie's out, is a bust. So this is Biden's platform. There's one mistake on here I have to correct. The wealth tax. He's not wealth tax. He's going to increase taxes, income taxes, but that's not a wealth tax. So that's a mistake, and I think Trump also supports a nuclear power is the other mistake on here. But generally, this is where this stuff lines up. It's not as good as what we would want it with Bernie Sanders. But you look at this, and this is Biden's before any of the changes he's going to make to try to win more of the Bernie Sanders supporters over. Right? So $15 minimum wage, yes. Paid family leave, yes. Citizens United, try to overturn it. Abolish the death penalty. Cocaine prison sentencing, remove disparity, right? Eliminate mandatory minimums. Yes, he's looking there. Eliminate private prisons, yes. Against for-profit charter schools. Free college. So this has changed since this list was made, right? So his original thing was 2 years free, but now there's 4 years free for people for making less than $125,000 a year for families that way, right? So it's not all the way up like we'd want it. And a student loan debt forgiven in bankruptcy. I think some of that he's moved on some of this as well, right? Beyond this year, and that might be some of the negotiations going on, right? Nuclear power, which again, this is the one thing Biden was better on, and why Biden's climate proposals are better than Bernie's, right? Even though Bernie was willing to spend way more money on it. We're never going to get off fossil fuels without nuclear power, right? We need that. That's going to be the transition that we need. Paris Climate Accords, obviously yes, because they signed it under Obama. He's for it. Pay farmers off on climate. I'm not exactly sure what this one is, but similar policy to Sanders. Citizenship for Dreamers. Voluntary buyback programs if you're against guns. Universal background checks. Abortion rights are obviously a big one. I don't think Trump actually cares about abortions, but because he's going to consistently put in conservatives who are against abortion, he's effectively against abortion, right? Even if he's not personally. So insurance coverage, right? So this is a big one in the healthcare. So he's looking to expand healthcare. Now, is it going to cover everybody else in it? No, it's not. It's not going to go all the way to Medicare for all, right? But it's questionable, if Bernie pushed for Medicare for all, one got in there, he would negotiate and wouldn't cover everybody, right? So, not here, not there. Limit out-of-pocket costs, yes. Negotiate drug prices, yes. Capital gains tax, apparently is a yes. I would imagine that's pretty Democratic across the board. But you look at this. This is far more progressive than what Obama was proposing, if you go back and look at Obama's campaign thing. Right now, Biden being the part of the New Democrats and the left and the DLC, the kind of third wave movement. He's not, historically his votes are kind of like sketchy between what we want, but we've generally been moving the Democratic Party further and further progressive since Obama, right? And that's why the Democratic Leadership Council no longer exists in the Democratic Party. That went out almost a decade ago now, in like 2011, I think. And the Progressive Caucus is growing and stuff like that. So we're pulling them over. It's not as far as quickly as we would like in some of these areas, but anybody who says Biden and Trump are indistinguishable and different, the same, it's just wrong, right? Biden, at least in his campaign promises, are better than or is much closer to Bernie, right? And so I'll be voting for Biden, right? How's it going, Joey? But yeah, that's the policy platform. So if you're Bernie or bust, you got an issue here. Now maybe it's like, well, he's not going to really fight it. He's going to have to compromise on it. It's like, yeah, but everything you like about Bernie, he's going to have to compromise on, right, to get things passed. It's just going to happen. So it'd be our job, right? And this is how you do the direct actions when he's in there now. So he's promising this stuff. We got to be vocal out about it, and so that he actually pushes and delivers it. Right, that means we got to vote down ballots for progressive candidates. I'm not going to comment on it unless it's diagnosed. Right, I sound pretty scattershot when I'm talking here, and I don't have dementia. Right, I can sound like Biden in some of these live streams when talking about stuff. Yeah. But I mean, that's where you go here, and obviously he's probably if he does go through with a woman, there's a chance that Elizabeth Warren is the VP, as another progressive would work there. So if you're really concerned about cognitive decline, you have an option there that'll be pulled through, right? You have someone that's going to come through there, right? It's a lot of things like the people like, oh, Bernie's so old, he could die in office, he's not going to make 8 years or whatever, voting. Who cares? He's going to have a vice president, right? And as long as you're comfortable with that vice president being president, it shouldn't matter their age or health issues that might crop up. Yeah, I have no idea about that. And I don't know if that's just trolling at that point. So let's finish this one up, and we got one more.
And hope that that will be enough to defeat Trump. I don't think it will. I think Trump, I mean, he's got the incumbent's edge. He's got the fact that the public think that he's at least doing an average job, a moderately decent job, when it comes to dealing with the coronavirus. Other than
Like I said, the coronavirus is going to be the big thing right now into how this election goes, right? And how people view Trump's treatment of it. But like I said, Dem primaries before the coronavirus broke out was higher than it was in 2008 or 2016, and it was Biden's coalition that was out higher and more force, right? And so you might feel a little more comfortable with that than trying to rely on the youth in Bernie's party, which was down compared to 2016, or not growing like he promised.
that, Trump seemed to be doing great. You know, everyone had money. That was a good thing. It's a damn good start. He was building a wall. He's reducing immigration, and he did do all of these.
I mean, he didn't build a wall, like, at all. Where are you talking about? And the jobs and stuff, that's just a continuation of Obama, right? And there's nothing there. Trump's actually probably accelerated a lot of issues that we're going to have with this recession with some of his policies, right? So buffed it up, built a bit of a bubble. And, you know, it's funny, before the coronavirus outbreak, which guaranteed the bubble burst, they were talking about a 50-50 shot in 2020 that the bubble was going to break and we're going to have a recession anyways. The coronavirus just, you know, popped what was already going to pop, right? But, yeah, the coronavirus and how it happens and how this drags out through the course of the year is going to be the big wild card. And unfortunately, some polling shows that people are fine with how Trump has handled it, which is, but I mean,
These things. So I think that Trump is actually in a really solid position. I think that, if anything, bringing Sanders and his agenda on is going to make Biden weaker, because Biden can just run on like Bill Clinton's platform, just a basic bitch, like the same platform Obama had. You know, just go for that. There are moderate Democrat platforms that he can go for. I don't think that they're going to win. I think, again, it's Trump that's going to win, hopefully by a significant margin at this point. But
yeah, that's not going to happen, right? Like, Trump got fewer votes than, was it fewer votes? I'll have to look at the totals, but he got fewer votes, generally speaking, than Romney and McCain, I think. If not, it wasn't pretty close. So it's like he didn't bring in any new excitement, any new coalition. What just happened was turnout was down compared to where it had been for Obama. So if turnout's up, and which, you know, the Dem primary and that stuff carries through, I mean, Joe's probably going to walk in with this election. But like I said, coronavirus is the wild card in the meantime.
yeah, I just find this really hilarious. And the funniest bit about this to me is the fact that you can still give Bernie Sanders campaign contributions. You can make a contribution to our campaign.
And now he gets into this conspiracy theory that he's using campaign money to buy houses again and spreading this stupid thing. Yeah, but, you know, Trump had like little margin for error. Like, he won, you know, if you look at, you know, a percentage point better, right? That's all Biden's got to do in, you know, Michigan, Wisconsin. I think it's about a percentage point. I'll have to go look at the actual numbers, but for the most part, Biden does a percentage point, not a percentage point, but 1% better. Yeah, one more percentage point is what I mean. Ugh, confuse my word. In those 3 states, which is, you know, more than possible. I know I think it's Pennsylvania and Michigan, he's up, you know, almost 1 or 2 points over where Hillary was, but we'll see how the debates go. And like I said, the coronavirus is the concern here. But yeah, Trump's got very little margin for error for retaining the Electoral College, right? And so, what do you mean the Electoral College doesn't force it through again with Trump? Like, the Electoral College is all about what the states have, and most go with just the winner, right? So if you win that state, you get those Electoral College votes, right? It's not proportional or anything like that. Right. So yeah, it wasn't about super delegates or anything like that, but Yeah, he's going to go into conspiracy and the hypocrisy. Oh, Bernie's going to buy a fourth house with this. Now, I imagine this comes down in the coming days. Although Bernie has converted his campaign financing stuff into a COVID-19 response, so it might stay up for that matter because he's spent like millions of dollars of campaign funds on fighting coronavirus and providing stuff to people. So I imagine that's going to stay that way if it does that way. Yeah, but I mean, the Electoral College is all about the states and stuff, right? So the Electoral College, for the most part, can't vote against what the results are in the particular state, right? And so, like in those 3 states or whatever, it would easily flip to Biden. No. So like you get so the Electoral College, you get so many votes in the Electoral College per state, and it's defined by the census and stuff like that. And for the most part, it's winner take all. So if you win Wisconsin, right, you get all of Wisconsin's Electoral College votes, right? So because of how the population works and how the Electoral College is set up, Hillary got a lot more votes in places like California and New York, which are more populous than Wisconsin and Michigan at least, and maybe even and Pennsylvania I'd imagine too, but without looking at the numbers. But so because she got more popular vote across the nation, it went that way. But because Trump won a couple of states by like Wisconsin, he won by like 15,000 votes, right? And I think Pennsylvania maybe by like 100,000. So it was very little. They could, but it rarely happens, and for the most part, there are several states that have it locked in that they can't. But yeah, it's possible they could, but I don't see them doing it. They generally vote with what the state says. There's only been maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 instances in the U.S. history where they voted against, and that's when the other structures were a lot different than what they are now. I'd have to look at that story. If you can find that story, you want to send it my way, Beast Nation, I'll look at it.
This is still on his website. Running for president requires an obscene amount of money. Oh, I bet it does. And Bernie doesn't have a super PAC or wealthy donors supporting his campaign. No, he doesn't. There's only one way we can win, and that's to get. How much do you want, Bernie? Is it $500 or $1,000 to help make you president? Your contribution will benefit. Oh, can I write in my own number? Can I write like $1 million in here? Would that help? My contribution will benefit Bernie Sanders. Yeah, I bet it will. I bet it benefit him all the way to that 4th house. Fucking socialist, man. I hate him. Anyway.
And now he gets into his shilling with, oh boy, there's a lot of, him being unironically a big bigot with this stuff here. All right, that's that one. I got one more video for tonight.